Alright, what's up everybody? I'm going to be doing a video on my list for the event super shortly, but I just wanted to actually just talk into the camera for a sec. So we passed 1,000 subscribers and we're actually coming up on 1.2 thousand subscribers. So I just wanted to actually put it in a video where I'm thanking everybody for being a part of the channel and helping me out. I am growing a lot faster than I sort of expected, so it's really exciting. Not going to change a ton going forward. Just going to keep doing what we've been doing. Fun Grey Knight stuff, generalization for games, become better at the game, right? That's the goal. So again, I just wanted to do a quick thank you and I'm going to hop into the video. Here it is.
We hold this ground in the name of the Primer!
Alright, so I am playing in a 5-man team event this weekend. It's I think it's the ATC 5-man. It's a little bit smaller than kind of what we've been playing at in previous videos. However, this is the first real event that I'm going to be bringing Grey Knights to. I've probably played it close to 30 games, 20 games by now with the new Grey Knight book. I've tried a lot of different things, and currently I think that the list on the screen is my favorite way to play the army at the moment. I do have some more ideas, but I just wanted to run through my list, explain the thought process on some stuff, and kind of what I'm looking to do in a team's environment. So the detachment Banishers, I think that Warpbane and Banishers are likely the two best detachments right now for Grey Knights. However, Sanctic Spearhead's pretty cool, pretty decent. Brotherhood is probably my one that I want to explore a lot, probably after this weekend, because I have Challenger Cup coming up at the end of next month where I'm going to play Grey Knights for sure. It's just a matter of how I want to play them. But for Banishers specifically, why do I think Banishers is so good? So number one, I think that they have the tools to win big events, if that makes sense. So the Banishers you're allowed to go play and force your opponent into scenarios that they don't like. With the 10-man intercept unit, you can fly up the board, deny primary, and then it puts your opponent in really uncomfortable positions where they have to choose between two bad things, right? Whereas something like Warpbane, your opponent sort of has to do stuff wrong for you to go kill them and win the game by a lot, if that makes sense. Now, Warpbane, don't get me wrong, I think Warpbane is still incredibly powerful. I'm not a Warpbane hater, right? But what I found when I play Warpbane is, number one, my opponent has to have data sheets that die to Dread Knights and Purifiers really well. And if they just don't, then you find yourself in this weird uphill battle where now the whole point of playing the detachment is to do a bunch of damage and just kill your opponent, and then you can't, and then you're left with what do I have left to go win the game? And the answer is nothing, right? Your answer is a 2-up armor save, hoping you don't die, basically, is the answer. Now, whereas something like Banishers, you're gonna roll significantly less amount of matchups, if that makes sense. You're not gonna just go shred your opponent and go tell everybody, oh yeah, I killed him on turn 3 in one turn. That's just not going to happen when you play Banishers. However, you have the tools between Mists of Deimos, the 5-up Feel No Pain, the Anti-Chaos 4+, to really flex into a lot of different games and go win matchups maybe that you weren't supposed to. So with all the yapping aside, this is the list that I sort of settled on after a good amount of testing. So characters, just Crowe. Just the man Crowe. Honestly, if I didn't have to play a character, I probably wouldn't. But Crowe is probably the best one that you want to plug in. He's also 90 points and amps your purifiers quite a lot. Then I have 2x4 Brotherhood Terminators with Incinerators on each of them. So here's the theory behind this unit. And I tested it in only 2 games, and both games they were incredibly good. So they are an early go on your expansion, go in the middle, do stuff unit. And what they allow you to do, right? So first of all, that unit's OC 12. If all 4 of them are on the objective, it is OC 12 Terminators, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that exists anywhere in the game besides, I think, maybe Custodes. But you're OC 12 on 4 guys, and they're 3 apiece. So what this means is 2 different things. Number one, the normal traditional fast garbage unit that your opponent has to fly across the table and stand on your expansion to deny it with 5 or 6 OC cannot do that anymore with this Terminator unit on the objective. Okay, so now that unit doesn't get to do that. So now what your opponent has to do in a lot of matchups, they have to. All right, I was about to sneeze. But so what they have to do in a lot of matchups is commit something that's like semi-real to real into your dummy little 4-man Terminator unit that's on your expansion, right? Because another notable thing is, let's say your opponent does commit something that matters, right? And yeah, I killed 3 Terminators with my, units that can kill Terminators generally don't have a lot of OC in a lot of scenarios, right? So now they're standing on the objective with like 5 OC, right? And you killed your Terminator unit down to 1 guy. It gets to revive, and now it's a minimum 6 OC on your objective. And since you're a 4-man, it's theoretically impossible to take a natural battle shock with this unit. So if your opponent like either swings down or you spike invulnerables, etc., this unit just gets to live on your expansion, revive to a minimum of 6 OC, and then like a lot of times just kill your opponent back because they're AP3 against infantry and melee. So it's really interesting. Really interesting unit. So far, it's been incredibly good for me, and I really like what it forces my opponent to do. Next, I played two 5-man Strike Marines, and almost every single game that I play, both of them start in a transport. Depending on the layout, I'm not going to get too crazy in like the different scenarios, but generally I always give 2 different transport Scout 6, and then one of those Strike Marines is always within 9 of my home after my Scout 6, and they get to just basically disembark and run onto my home objective and sticky it on turn 2 instead of turn 1. You'll find that it doesn't really matter if you sticky at turn 1, like, you don't really care if it's sticky at that point. But the Scouts, I made a video on like what I do with the Scouts a lot of the time. My most recent one, actually. But yeah, so that's what they do. And then late game, they're just like an awesome like rapid ingress. Like generally when the game starts to develop a little further, I just pick one 5-man up and leave it in deep strike until like turn 4 or 5. And it gets the rapid ingress as a 10 OC thing late game and kind of take like whatever objective you need. Especially if you go second, I just let one sit in reserve like the whole game, just to basically. Then moving into my favorite unit in the whole codex, actually, the entire book. Now, only in Banishers specifically do I like this unit. However, this unit is the reason that this attachment is playable, in my opinion, is the reason that this attachment is good, and is the reason that I win games a lot of the time. So a 10-man intercept unit with all melee weapons. So what that means is in melee, we're most of the time either sustained or lethal with 30 attacks at 622. One thing to note about Banishers is like don't bank on getting your detachment roll. I treat the detachment roll as a bonus essentially, and I plan all of my moves around like where is the math gonna like be for me if I don't get it. And then when you do get it, you're like, cool, I should mostly do what I'm trying to do. But the 10-man intercept unit fills like 5 rolls in this detachment, right? 5 is like a lot. But number 1, it's fast as hell. So it moves 12/15 inches if you get it out of the Rhino, which I do a good amount of the time. And then it has advance and charge for 1 CP. And then a 10-man unit that is this mobile takes up so much real estate on the board. It is hard for your opponent to move their army without triggering Shadows of Anarch / Mists of Deimos, in which case they get to pick up, and then they move 12, so you get to rapid ingress them in like generally a very safe position, and they get to charge out and basically spam this maneuver the whole game where you're killing stuff and denying primary, unless in most scenarios your opponent opts to just like not move 2/3 of their army because they're gonna trigger miss, and they're tired of dealing with this 10-man 2-up armor save unit that moves 12. And then you can also just fire and fade and move at 18. Like there's so many different tools that you can use this unit for that I think is amazing. And then also too, when you start off the game and you deploy it like in like a U or somewhere really forward and aggressive, you get to tell your opponent, you go, hey, this moves 12 inches with advance and charge. This moves 15 inches out of the Rhino with advance and charge. And they're like, oh my God, it's 30 attacks at 622. I'm like, yep. Oh, and it's 40 Stormbolters, which for those guys, 40 Stormbolters is not nothing, by the way. Like, it ends up being like real real damage. So our opponent now is like playing a weird little game with themselves where they're like, oh my god, if I move here, you're like, that's like a 3-inch charge and I'm dead most of the time. And now it's not only like pressuring your opponent's plays, but it also, when you actually do go play with it, it like almost always does what you want it to do. I love this unit. It's incredible. If you're playing Banishers, I think your list literally starts with this unit, and then you build the list from there. That's just my opinion. Then I have another 5-man intercept unit. Low-key, I meant to have a special weapon on this unit, but I submitted it without it. So I'm just going to try it without the special weapon and see how it goes. But this unit does a very similar job to the 10-man. However, I'll just send them out to go catch a screen like that's behind like a wall or something, or do some skirmishing early game if I don't need to commit the 10-man. Nothing really of note there. Then I have 25 purifiers in my list. All of them do a different role. So Crowe 101. Once I started thinking of Crowe's unit as a shooting platform that is also good in melee, my performance with that unit like skyrocketed. Instead of like, oh, I have to rapid ingress Crowe's unit so it can make this charge. No, the rest of your list is for that. I play Crowe as a shooting platform first that is good in melee if he makes it / late game, or if my opponent charges him, if that makes sense. Between anti-chaos 4+, straight up purifier damage, the 4 incinerators, like this unit just bangs in shooting. And, you know, wounding on 5s against most of the game with the Incinerator makes them actually do really good damage against, like, vehicles if they're on an objective. And if it's a Chaos vehicle, like Crowe's unit, it can just, like, kill it, like, pretty consistently. Because you're hitting on 3s and then you're Purifying Flames, wounding on 4s with full rerolls. So it's 75% at AP2 nor cover. So, like, all of a sudden you're just, like, doing, like, 15 damage or 16 damage to a vehicle that's on an objective. And it's really good. So Crowe is a shooting platform. Generally, I pick him up early game, and then he sits there until I need him. That's kind of just the deal. Then I have a 10-man purifier that is all melee. Now, this is the one that you're banging with, right? This is the one that is going to be fighting onto objectives. This is the one that you want to rapid ingress with the intention of getting it into melee. And this is the unit that your opponent has to deal with, like, as one of your first, like, frontline units. And theoretically, in most of my games, this is my first unit that, like, my first big unit that dies, because it's out there first to, like, blow up chaff, because, you know, it's 40 Stormbolters and then 10 Purifying Flames, which is, like, really good at killing stuff. And then it's 30 attacks at 622 with mostly sustained lethal in melee as well. Those who don't know, like a 5-up, like winning on 5s, re-rolling with purifiers is like around the odds of winning on 4s, or like high 3.5, like high 3s basically. So this unit just can clean up, you know, T11 or lower things pretty efficiently. And that's what I use it for, is like one of my first front lines out there. Then I have a 5-man purifier with 2 incinerators. They're always in a Razorback. This unit, like, it's just fine. It fills a role, it skirmishes, it kills stuff. AP2 incinerators, AP3 Purifying Flames out of a Razorback is very cool. And they're very efficient at doing the thing that I want them to do, which is kill trash and stand on objectives, and kill things that are on objectives. Then my favorite units ever, I have triple Razorback and 1 Rhino. Razorbacks, I love the threat of just like triple last cannon, triple hunter killer on like one turn. They can do some decent damage to something and chip it down enough to where like the rest of your list can kill it with like minimal investment. You're not playing the Razorbacks to kill stuff, but you'll find that your twin link glass cannon will cross court kill things at random at times, and it's just very cool. And then not to mention the +1 AP boost is awesome. And having 4 of these transports all over the table is really cool for your 5-man intercept unit when you're dancing them around. I made a video on that as well. It's very cool. So that's my list. That's kind of my medium in-depth thought process on the list in general. What I'm going to be trying to do with this is I want to take advantage of infantry, like elite infantry focused lists. So think like Emperor's Children, Custodes, Black Templar, Space Wolves, those kind of lists. I think Grey Knights in general do very, very well into. Also, this list is incredibly good at cleaning up hordes. So think like Genestealer Cult, maybe Green Tide Orcs, anything with a ton of model count with maybe like medium to bad armor saves. This unit deals with really well. I think it plays a decent draw-ish game into knights. The matchups that I really do not want to play into would be Imperial Guard, mostly, probably 4/5 Big Knight, Lords of Dread, Chaos Knights, because of the -1 damage in melee can like really be bad. And then like, honestly, I think it can play a game into like most of Warhammer 40k. I like the Death Guard matchup here pretty well. I like the Thousands matchup mostly. It's like bad sort of, but you have ways to win that matchup pretty well. But yeah, my goal is I would love to go 5-0 this weekend. I think that I can drop a lot of 15s. The play pattern of this is not really one to go find 20-0s, but it certainly could in the right environment just because of how well you can deny primary. And that's like the main focus of this list is like, my goal is for my opponent never to score primary until either their bottom 5 or never. That's like the game plan for what I'm doing here. So that's really it. I play in this event on Saturday. This list is already locked in. I will post updates from that event. And yeah, hoping that we can pull out a good one. I'm playing with Mike Muzzini, Bryce Bennett, Jarrett Robinson, Eric Andrews. They're on Warhost, Votan, Death Guard, and Creations of Bile CSM. So I think we've got a really cool team. And we should have a great weekend. So thank you guys again for everything. Thank you for subscribing, liking my stuff. Yeah, I've got a Discord that's starting to pop a little bit. So that's going to be in the description. And I will see you guys later.